You found this podcast because you're a mom who wants to disrupt what is expected of you. You're passion-focused, purpose-driven, and ready to break through to your own version of success and finally build a life and business that is totally on your own terms and led from your inner guidance system. You're not interested in replicating what someone else told you was successful. You're 100% ready to design your own reality in life and business, and you're here for it, all of it. I see you, I hear you, I am you. So let's get started in turning our dreams into bite-sized actionable steps to launch forward toward our dreamy, soulful, fulfilling, and joyful lives and businesses. Welcome to the Moms with a Purpose show. So this is what I had at the beginning of the presentation. So let's get to the intuition part. So using your intuition to really start becoming more mindful and making decisions that give us life instead of taking away from us, right? We really want to start to make decisions from this place. And so then what happens when you truly start listening to your intuition again? I call this sort of the great experiment. And I have gone through this in my life before, in my former corporate career. Great, Mary Ann, you can hear me. Thank you so much. I appreciate you sticking through this despite all the tech difficulties. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you so much, Marianne. So the great experiment, what happens when you start listening to your intuition again? So you may have already noticed, if you started doing this, that some pretty amazing things start to happen when you listen to your inner guidance system. It has the power to make you quit unfulfilling jobs, walk away from relationships that are toxic or that no longer serve you. It has the power to make you speak up for yourself, to speak your truth, to stand up for yourself, and to walk in your power. Wow, that is pretty fantastic, don't you think? So if you've already started, or if you have, if you've done one of these things, or if you have listened to that nudge in your inner guidance system, let me know in the comments and tell me, what did you listen to and how did it make you feel? How did it make you feel walking away from that situation, actually speaking up for yourself and speaking your truth? How did all of that make you feel? So let me know in the comments. So how can we start honoring our intuition and trusting in our own power? So this is really something that obviously, like, we're talking about intuition, so it has to come from your deep, deep intuition to trust in yourself that you are making the decisions that are best for your life. So I'll go back to my former corporate career again. I deeply, deeply wanted my voice to be heard. I wanted a sense of autonomy. I wanted that decision-making power. I wanted trust from my team and from my leaders. And I have a suspicion this is something that you want too. If this is something you also want, leave a yes in the comments. So you, depending on where you're at in your life, you may be on a different path. So you might be either working at a traditional job, you might be side hustling at the moment, you might be starting up your own business, or you might be working as a freelancer, working on all kinds of different projects for different business owners. You might be running your own business. So in order to start making forward progress on the path you want to create in your life, you first have to take back your power and take control of your own path. So this starts by trusting in the power within you, trusting that your intuition will lead you to the place you're meant to be in. And then, this could mean making a decision based upon what directions you want to go in your life. Mary Ann says, I listen to music. It helped me pick myself up. Yes, that's wonderful, Mary Ann. Music is a wonderful tool to kind of reprogram our minds, right? When we're not feeling like we're operating out of our best selves, music is definitely, I love music as well. So that's wonderful. I love that. So how can we start to honor our intuition, trust in ourselves? Taking aligned action is really the next step. So I'll get to this in a second, but fear. Let's see. So the next step after, you decide that you really want to take back your power, start listening to your intuition, you want to start taking aligned actions, because we could sort of write down all day what our goals are, and we could, map out all of these wonderful things that we want in our lives and how we want our lives to look and be and do and feel and how we want our family lives to be. But if you don't start taking that aligned action towards these goals, then you're probably going to get stuck in the same cycles over and over again of reaching for the goals but falling short or being misguided in the whole process. So if you are a mom in a traditional job and you want to renegotiate your role, maybe you want more flexibility to be able to take care of your family, which that's huge. Like that's one of the big things that we as moms want, is that flexibility, so we could still provide, so we can still work and pursue our goals, but be able to take care of our families at the same time. So that aligned action step in this example would be going to your current supervisor, to your current boss, to the leadership, and posing that conversation. And there's ways to do it where you're coming from a very professional place, and you can pose a conversation about negotiating for increased flexibility. That would be an aligned action step. It could be finding an entirely new opportunity. So taking an aligned action step could be finding that new role that truly lights you up and gets you excited and gets you fired up to work on all those projects. Like, everyone wants that feeling deep inside of them to be fired up to do their work, to show up every day, right? You want a reason to wake up in the morning, to show up to what you're doing, what your work you're doing in the world. You want that fire and you want that reason to keep going. So if that means getting a new opportunity, that's your aligned action step. What can you do today to start moving towards your goal, to start moving in the direction of your goal, taking those aligned action steps? What's a small step you can do today? So it's not always about like, oh, I need to like figure this whole kind of, this whole plan out. And from start to finish, I need to be able to map out exactly what I'm going to be doing every day, every step of the day for the next year. In my experience, that really hasn't worked. It's sort of like the hourly schedule. I've never been able to operate off of an hourly schedule because things could change hourly for me. I work much better based off of my intuition. So those are a couple of examples of taking aligned action steps in your life. Setting goals is great, but taking that next step and actually doing aligned action is what you want to be doing next. So whatever path you choose, it always has to sing deeply from your soul that this is the direction you're seeking. If you feel a tug at all of saying, no, I don't think I want to do this, I don't think this is right for me, it probably is there for a reason. So you have to kind of go dig back deep down into your intuition and ask, what is the reason this is telling me no? Why is this coming up for me? You always have the power. I talk about this a lot on my podcast, Moms with a Purpose. If you haven't listened to that, definitely go check it out. I have over 50 episodes talking to different moms all about mom life, pursuing our biggest goals and dreams, entrepreneurship, family life, all types of different things. I've had such a fun time on that podcast over the past year and a half. But a big thing that I talk about on the podcast is you have the power to shape your own life. You totally have the power. Me sitting here right now to give you an example, this is me shaping my own life. Because 5 years ago, I was sitting in a corporate office, pretty miserable, staring at spreadsheets, answering emails I did not want to answer, answering phone calls I did not want to take, having meetings I did not want to be in. And now fast forward 5 years and I'm sitting here talking to you. So that was me shaping my own life. That was something I planted in my heart that I wanted to do. And I started working towards it. And then I started taking aligned action steps to move closer and closer and closer towards it. And it has slowly unfolded over the past 5 years. So just a note to say that you're never stuck. You are never, ever stuck. With a caveat like, yes, there are situations, if you're in an abusive relationship, if you're in a situation where you are truly feeling stuck, there are resources to reach out for those types of situations. But this is just in general terms of like our minds and what we tell ourselves and the stories we tell ourselves. You always have the ability to take back your power. There are always whispers from your inner guidance system that will ultimately lead you to your passions and your purpose. And it's your choice to either listen to them or ignore them. So I'll talk about one of the things that held me back for a very long time in my life, which is fear. And so fear, everyone is familiar with fear. Fear can come up in a lot of different situations in our lives. It pops up when we're uncertain about something. It's unpleasant. It's an unpleasant emotion. It's caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause a threat, likely to cause some kind of pain in your life. And so often fear is something that's created in our minds. It comes from the stories we tell ourselves about something that may or may not actually be threatening. Our ego is telling us that it's a threat. But when we actually dig deeper to discover the root of the fear, we can often discover that it comes from our past. It comes from past conditioning, childhood trauma, or other unpleasant situations in our lives that we have tended to bury deep down into our subconscious. So for me, Mary Ann says, I'm sure it's one of the things that held every other people back too. Yes. Yes. Fear is very, very common. And I feel like, a lot more common in women, but I'm sure men experience it as well. It's such a common thing to experience some type of fears, that are originated in our minds. So for me in my former corporate job, I always, I would say most of the time, I don't know if I would say always, but I would say most of the time operated out of a place of fear. But I didn't understand at that point back then in my life that if I wanted to reach my goals, like my big, crazy, amazing goals for my life, that I had to switch that fear-based thinking. I had to instead positively focus on what I did want instead of continuously focusing on what I didn't want. So, for example, I would get very, sort of down on myself. I would get very, depressed, and I would get my confidence would drop like crazy, right? When I went for something at my job or my career, when I went for something, applied for maybe a higher position and didn't get it, it would kind of crush me, right? And so then I would focus in on all that negative energy of, I didn't get it. And then I would make up stories in my head. Well, I'm not good enough. If they didn't want me for this job, that's why. I'm not good enough. I didn't get this. So I would constantly cycle the negative stories through my mind instead of reframing it into something positive. And I think this is something I really didn't truly understand until I walked away from that job. But it's something that we can get so caught up in because our egos are constantly telling us that we did, it was you did something wrong to not achieve this. And it really is ego driven. We're not digging under the surface and truly listening to what we have to say intuitively, right? So when a major shift for me, when I started positively focusing on what I wanted, positively focusing instead of obsessing about what I didn't want and things that could go wrong, that is when things shifted for me in my life and my business. So back then in my corporate job, I didn't make mindfulness a priority at all. I created these crazy anxiety-induced stories in my mind that caused me to spiral and essentially pushed me even further away from reaching my goals. That was like the complete opposite of what I wanted to do, right? But it happened because I operated out of that place of fear. So for me personally, the fear, so digging deeper underneath the fear is the next step, which I could probably do another presentation on digging deeper underneath your fears, right? But for the purposes of time, I know we've had some hiccups today in the Facebook lives and things like that, so I don't want to talk too much into it. But for me, the fear surface arose from past situations where I felt my opinion didn't matter, where my voice didn't count, and where my intuition was suppressed. So what I did not understand back then is that I was preventing my own version of success from even becoming possible by letting that fear operate my entire life. So what I also realized, and maybe you resonate with this, is I was hiding. I was afraid to show my true self. I was afraid to show my true colors. When I truly started seeing myself as my inner intuitive self is when others started to see me in this light too. So I had to recognize what was deep within myself and uncover all of my inner wants, desires, needs, goals, work on all of that healing work in order to get to the point where I can actually be present as myself in my business, which is what I'm doing now. So I was hiding from myself, and that was causing me to reach for goals that weren't truly meant for me. So I will ask you, if you're on the live or in the replay, is there a way that you're hiding in your life currently? Is there something you're hiding from? Drop it in the comments if you are. And it's definitely something we can talk more about in the next 4 days of the challenge as well. So this is something that was really, it was really perfect timing. So this came up last night. I was thinking about doing this live broadcast today and listening to a meditation track with my 6-year-old daughter, Emma. We listen to a meditation every night. So this came on the meditation, and I couldn't think of a better message to share with you today. So this it says, you are the light. You are made from love and light. You can be whoever you want to be, and you can do whatever you want to do. And you are filled up to the very brim with love and light. Wherever you go, your light shines so brightly, and sharing your light will make other people happy. And it makes you happy too. When you shine your light brightly, it lets others know it's okay to shine their light brightly too. If we all do this together, it will make the world a more beautiful and peaceful place. And so this deeply, deeply resonates with the message that I'm trying to share with you today, the message that I am trying to share in my business. This is why I do what I do, right? So I help moms figure out all of these things about themselves and get them closer to their goals and their big dreams in life. Because ultimately, if we all shine our lights together, it's going to show our children that it's okay for them to shine their lights and to be a light in the world. And that is how we will get to a more beautiful and peaceful world, right? So ultimately, it all ties in together. Let's make this world better for the next generation. And it starts with us as moms, really digging deep to live out our best lives and live a life we love, because then it is going to show our kids that they can definitely do the same thing. So shifting into how can we start to practice mindfulness in our day to get in that sort of mindset to start approaching our goals from an intuitive space. Yes, I can definitely share that, Mary Ann. I will share that in the group. You mean the quote that I shared from the kids' meditation? I can share that in the group. So mindfulness can be almost anything that you engage in a way in which you focus on being intensely aware of what you're sensing and feeling in the moment without interpretation or judgment. So I think the last part of that sentence is really the most important part of the whole definition, right? Practicing mindfulness is without our ego coming in, without our inner critic coming in and judging what is in our minds. So it's taking out that judgment piece and saying, hey, hold on, we're not going to do the judgment right now. We're just in our minds. We are present in our minds, and we are going to engage in the activity that we're doing in the present moment. We're going to sense what we're feeling, and we're not going to judge or interpret anything right now. So I think that is just something that is just so helpful in when trying to start intuitively forming our goals and what we truly, truly are working towards in our life, right? So when we can start to reprogram our fears or other underlying self-limiting beliefs by engaging in mindfulness work, is really when we're going to start seeing those shifts come through, right? So some of the things that I do on a daily basis, Mary Ann said listening to music, that's a beautiful mindfulness practice. I love that. I also do meditation and breath work. I do free journaling daily. Sometimes I'll throw a yoga session in. Sometimes it'll be an outdoor walk to ground myself in nature. Petting my dogs, that really is a mindfulness practice for me. Laughing with my daughter, just being in the present moment with her, or being in the present moment with my husband. These are all mindfulness practices that we can start to do that aren't very complicated. So mindfulness, it can also include breathing methods, guided imagery, and other practices to relax the body and mind and help reduce stress. So really what we're talking about with being mindful and mindfulness, it's anything that takes you out of that ego state and brings you back home to yourself, right? I always tend to think of it as being mindful is coming back home to Kelly. So what is Kelly intuitively wanting to feel right now? What is Kelly intuitively wanting to do right now? And it might be different from day to day. I might not do the same mindfulness practice every day, but it's what I'm feeling in that moment. And I think the more and more we practice this, it just feeds into our relationships, our work, our businesses, our other daily lives, and our family lives. I think this work just kind of melts into everything, and we can start to really see positive results come out of this work. So you're not hitting your goals right now because you're not listening to your intuition. So this is not to say, like, to point anybody out and say, you're not hitting your goals. Like, I see you not hitting your goals. But this is just something to think about. Maybe you're not hitting your goals because you're not listening to your intuition. Maybe you're operating out of a place of fear, or you're operating out of a place of you're doing things others want you to do. There's many different approaches to goal setting in general, so it could be a little confusing with all the different approaches. In the past, I know I struggled with sticking to goals. For example, exercising, because I didn't have an intuitive reason to stick to that goal. It was basically someone else told me I should exercise to be fit and healthy, right? But what did that really mean to me? It didn't have a deeper meaning to me until I connected my healthy habits to, sort of going hand in hand with my mental well-being. When I connected, okay, if I get physical exercise every day, it benefits me mentally, and I'm more mentally grounded. I feel better. I'm able to pursue things in my daily life in a better way, in a more positive way. That was my intuition saying, this is why you should do this. Not because someone in society told you that you should be exercising to look a certain way or to have a certain body. Once I got rid of that external factor and really defined it based on my internal factors, is when things shifted. And that's just one example. So I used to set goals just to set goals, but wasn't really buying into why I needed to achieve those goals. But in my personal intuitive and mindfulness journey, I realized that in order to follow through on my goals, I needed to have that intuitive buy-in. So how can you start to intuitively set goals that make you feel good and energize you? So I would start with a daily grounding practice. One way to get yourself grounded daily is to picture roots spreading out from your feet into the earth. Take some deep breaths and imagine yourself connecting energetically to the earth. Thank you for joining, Mary Ann. I appreciate you sticking through with me, and I can't wait to catch you on tomorrow's. Let me know your biggest takeaway from the presentation. Post a comment in the group, and have a great day. Thank you. So picture roots spreading out from your feet into the earth. Take some deep breaths and imagine yourself connecting energetically to the earth. Then after the grounding session, pull out a notebook or journal and start writing down everything. Imagine everything you can think of that you would love to do, be, or create. And there's no limitations on what you write. Just free write and write down whatever comes up. If your mind starts to wander, which often our minds do as busy moms, we have all like a million tabs open at one time, right? There's always something on our minds. But if your mind starts to wander, put the notebook down, close your eyes, and practice the grounding all over again and reset yourself. So the purpose really of creating goals from your intuition is that you're digging into your inner guidance instead of relying on outside influences to tell you what your goals should be. And I encourage you also take it a step further and find out why you want to even achieve these goals in the first place. What will they do for you in your life? Why are they important at all anyways? So journal on all of these questions. And then for the homework, it is pretty simple. Just take some time to ground yourself and journal about the goals you want to pursue in 2022. Use your intuition and your deep inner guidance system to guide your goals. And also make sure to write down why these goals are important to you. What will you feel when you achieve them? And what greater purpose do they serve in your life? So we'll get deeper into what our why and what our purpose is tomorrow in tomorrow's training. But I just want you to start thinking about what even greater purpose would these goals serve, and really start to evaluate and think about, are these goals that are coming from your deep intuition and how you truly want to guide your life, or are they goals being influenced by external factors? So thank you so much for sticking through with me today. I will post, I'll try to organize all of the video files. I know I had some tech issues. We had super strong winds here today, so it kept cutting out. But I will post the homework in the group too. And I hope you all can join me on day 2 of the training. Tomorrow, we're going to be diving deeper into talking about your superpowers and your passions, and how you can really start to put those two together to start to form a plan that's unique to you, so you can start to fully step into your power in 2022 and beyond. So I'm so excited for day 2. Again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for sticking with me, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for tuning into the Moms with a Purpose show today. I am so grateful that you've decided to listen to my podcast. I am so excited to continue bringing you valuable content that will help you in your purposeful and passion-filled mom life going forward. So if you enjoyed the content on this episode, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. In addition, I want to invite you to join my Facebook group called Moms with a Purpose. I will leave the link in the show notes, but I would really love for you to join. We touch on all of the topics talked about on this podcast, plus feature free challenges and a chance to meet other purpose-driven moms that are out there doing following their passions and pursuing their dreams just as you are in their own unique ways. So I would love to see you in the Facebook group. Until next time, have a great week, and thank you so much for tuning in.